Hello and welcome back. We are thrilled to be joined by Jessica Lynne, psychic medium today. I think we have a very interesting conversation ahead of us, and I'm very glad you have joined us for it. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
I would love to hear from you a bit about your journey, how you got to the place where you wanted to become a medium and what that was like, because it's not right up there with the world's most socially acceptable, easy jobs, is it? Like, you're immediately going to raise questions with people. So tell me a little bit about you and your story.
Yes, definitely. So I've always been a very intuitive person. I've always had that like really strong gut instinct. Like I just knew things even when I was younger, and I kind of just thought everybody felt that deeply, or like everyone kind of knew these things. And I'd have little like, I like call them downloads. I'd have little downloads about things where I'd be like, oh, I feel like they're about to walk in the room. And then all of a sudden that person walks in the room. And I was like, as if everyone can do this kind of thing. But I didn't realize that was just my psychic senses like activating when I was like 12 or 13 or something. But I was always incredibly fascinated with the other side. And I think it was because my family weren't necessarily against that kind of thing. It's not like we talked about it all the time, but it wasn't like, even though I came from a Catholic like upbringing, they were, my mum and my dad, like they were just sort of like whatever to all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't like ingrained in me that was wrong. So I was open to it always. But my nana and my granddad were really like my core role models in life. And my nana passed when I was 12. And her passing made me feel like a sense of wanting to understand where she went. Like, where is she? Like, she cannot just be gone. That is just not a thing. Like, there's got to be something else out there. And I hope that there would be. So I sort of started to try to connect with her. I would sit there with like her ashes box and I would just talk to her and pretend we were having a conversation. And I used to get this really strong like wooden smell like fill the room every time that I was talking to her. And her wooden ashes box, obviously it was wooden, it had a really sweet smell to it. But it started to completely fill the room like one day, like this really wooden sweet smell. And I thought, that's not normal. I'm like, that's not something that happens every day. Like this has got to be a thing. So I would test it like every day. Like I'd walk past and there was nothing. I'm like, all right, what if I sit with it? And then it started to fill the room again. So that was my first, like, I guess, knowing that there's something else like that. You can't coincidence that away.
But a lot of people would, wouldn't they?
They would.
A lot of people would find a logical reason to say that's not real or whatever. But you felt that it was like, I think you just used the word, you experienced something. So it goes beyond a feeling. It feels much more real and tangible.
Yeah. And it always felt real. It was like, this is something else. And I was like, all right, I'm going to test you even more. I'm not going to be near your ashes at all. And I want to smell that smell. And I remember being in the supermarket and I got a whiff of it and I was like, whoa, I'm like, this is crazy. So that's when I became obsessed with mediums. So I would go everywhere, all the mind, body, spirit festivals, all the things, the crystal shop down the street. I'd be like, do readings for me. Like I was just so intrigued by everything that was spirituality and crystals and all the things. So I was just like a junkie for it. I'm like, yeah, anyone, come one, come all kind of thing.
And did you have bad experiences with that as well as good? Did you have the experience feel like that's a charlatan, they're just making money, this is not real?
Me personally, not really. But I think that might be because I've always been able to pick that. And maybe because I have a bit of that. So I was like, well, I have a lot of that now. But I was like, I know that that person will be good for me. I remember walking through some of those, like, you know, those halls with all the mediums and they've got all their cards out, they're doing all their thing. And I would walk past and I would pick the person that I felt the most drawn to. So it was never about, hey, I'm just going to go and see whoever's there, whoever's available. I always wanted to feel a sense of something.
So it's like an energetic connection.
Definitely. And if you don't feel connected to the medium you're seeing, I don't know why you're there.
Well, that's the same with any relationship, right? Any human relationship. But I think this intangible feeling of energetically connecting with somebody, we all know what that feels like, but it's hard to explain with science, isn't it? So if we move into your realm of understanding and how you're connecting, then it's much easier to kind of say, I don't know the science, I don't understand how that would work. But we know how it feels to energetically connect.
Definitely. So I think that's with anything, even with your eyebrow chick, your your waxer, whoever. You got to feel a connection or it's not going to land. So I always looked for that energetic energy when I went to a medium anyway. So I didn't necessarily find those people who I guess trying to pull your leg along my journey now, so I can kind of feel it out more. And it's not that I've gone to see them, but I can just kind of tell.
Yeah.
But back then, not so much. It was more the positive experiences that I was having. And I think that they did that on purpose, my spirit team. They're like, let's have this all be good energy and have me get excited about this so that later on in life, in, 20 years or whatever, that I would actually be interested in this kind of thing. So one psychic said to me, Jess, I don't know why you're here. You need to be on the other side of this table. You should be able to turn this on and off like a light switch. And I remember thinking, God, that would be nice, but I have no idea how to do that. So I kind of just let it go. And then years later, I was like, actually, I love this medium that I've just found and she does courses. So I'm just going to see how this feels. I ended up dragging one of my friends, and I remember within the first 10 minutes, she was teaching us how to blend our energy with spirit. And we were paired up with a total stranger and had to start reading for them. And I was like, way to just ease us in.
Yeah.
We have no idea what we're doing.
I'm now a medium. Yeah.
I know I'm a medium, apparently, all of a sudden. But I honestly felt like I was. As soon as I did the exercise and I started to connect, this man stepped forward. I started to get all this information. It was like I'd had amnesia for all these years. And then this person had just switched it on and it all just came flooding back. It was unbelievable.
So you actually see, you can tell you sense, I don't know, that there's a person and something about them. That's a man, that's a woman, it's old, young.
Mm-hmm. It's really strange. It's over time, you build up a symbology. Like it's almost like you create this little computer program. I kind of think of it as like a keyboard, and the spirits stand there at my keyboard and they're like, that one, that one, that one. And it just starts to flow over time because you have all these symbols that you've thought about in the past or you've learnt along the way. And one of the first things I wanted to differentiate was male and female. Because when I first started, people were like, are you sure it's not a woman? And I'm like, oh, is it? And I thought, that's the one thing you guys have got to do for me straight up because I need to know what's going on. And people tested me a lot at the start. They're like, oh, no, it sounds more like this person. I'm like, nah. I'm like, I know this is a man. I know that. And that's one of the first things that I sort of honed in on. But I'm still working with my spirit team. I'm still like, tell me that. What is this? I feel like it's a life journey.
It's giving me an image of, do you know that game that kids play where there's all the faces? Can't think what it's called, and you knock them down or knock them up.
Oh, what's it called?
Guess Who?
Is it Guess Who?
Yeah. It's a psychic Guess Who.
It is. It is. It kind of feels like a bit of a game or a bit of a dance sometimes. You're like, oh, who is this? And then I get really curious. I'm like, what are you? And what were you here? And like, what are you doing over there? And it's almost like you're like unfolding something like over that session. It's really quite fascinating. And you have to make it fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you bring a real positive energy to it. You can see that it's sort of, we use the term, that it lights you up. You should be doing something that lights you up. So the connecting thing, do you feel the same with the humans in this realm? Like, do you have that same, can you read them? Do you know that's a good energy, that's a bad energy? Does it work the same way?
For sure. I think that when you're very switched on, I guess we could say, it's very hard to switch that intuition and that off because I'm always looking for the good energy and I feel really attracted to certain people's vibes. I'm like, oh, you're a good vibe. Like I could kind of stand with you right now. And if I see people and they're in that like victim state or that misery energy, I'm like, oh my God, get me out of here.
Yeah.
I feel like my body's just like, retreat.
It physically impacts you. And like science says that's real. We catch people's mood. They're catchy. They're contagious. And so being with negative energy, even if that person can't help it for whatever reason, they've got that energy, we catch a bit of it if we're not careful. We have to kind of protect ourselves from catching it.
Definitely, which is why I've basically dumped my whole family because I'm like, that's all bad vibes here. So I'm like, I can't actually do what I do if I have toxic people in my life. I can't have toxic friends. I can't have toxic family. I can't entertain any of that anymore. And I used to, because I was like, oh, that's just what they're like. And, we'll just do the dance kind of thing. But I'm like, I literally cannot be at this vibration. I need to be of clear mind. The thing is, I've been through so much in my life. I've had so much trauma and healing and things that I've had to do. This is why I didn't become a medium until I was 30, because I wasn't ready. I had too much baggage and too much healing to do myself, that I could not put myself in that neutral state to be able to hold space for others, because I couldn't even hold space for myself.
So I find that totally fascinating what you just said, because one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is because of how you show up online. There's this kind of raw authenticity, just willing to go there in a way that a lot of people won't feel comfortable with, often because they're projecting an image of themselves. And I wondered, when you're doing the work that you do, but obviously in your personal life as well, now you're saying, like, you're really describing what I would say in our model that we teach around connection. Like, it's a deep connection with yourself, an authentic connection. I've done some work to heal as much trauma as I can. Like, there's always a bit more work to do, isn't there? But I've done that. And I've unpicked the stories about who I authentically am, like the ones that were given to me, the roles I'm supposed to play, the expectations other people have. And I've really been intentional and decisive about the me I want to be, the me I really am, that I'll accept, good and bad, and then the one I'm kind of creating. And when that happens, I call that being really connected with ourselves. The internal noise that we're constantly assessing ourselves, the world, each other, judging everything, which is normal. That's what our brains do. It just turns down. And so then when we're with another person, we can genuinely connect with them. Our attention is out on them and less on ourselves, because this is more at ease. And it feels to me that that's what you're describing when you talk about being a medium.
Yeah, it's like this. You have to be able to quieten your mind, be present, and almost forget everything that's going on in your world. And like, even early on, I just remember, like, when you have a fight with your spouse, like, there's shit going on that day, and you can't you can't get rid of that. It is what it is. It's life. I've had to learn to go from being in my human form, where I am having an argument or I'm sad or I'm whatever, to within 5 minutes switching that off, switching on my psychic mind, and being in someone else's energy in a completely neutral state. Can you imagine how hard that is?
I can only imagine how hard it is. Like, it reminds me, of when I was training to become a psychotherapist, and that's the practice of turning down the internal noise, resolving your own stuff enough that you can genuinely be present with and for another person and hold that space.
Yeah.
Which is very
It's
authentic,
not easy.
right?
For sure. You have to. You're like, this person needs me right now. And it means more than what I'm just dealing with. Like, we're dealing with higher level stuff here, like soul connection stuff, like some little banter conversation I've just had with my wife. Like, who cares at the end of the day? Like, we'll get over that. But this is important. So I think I've had to learn over time to compartmentalize things that are going on in my life and turn down all the stations so that then I can be present in certain moments. And I have never ever felt this clear of mind than what I do today. And it's because I've done so much work on myself to get to this point. Like, I was a disaster. Like, I reckon I cried for like a full year when I was in the trenches of the trauma, going to therapist after therapist, session after session, energy healing, anything. I felt like I had a whole freaking exorcism at that point. But it's made me feel so much clearer in the driver's seat of my life. And I've never been in the driver's seat. I've always been in the back, letting people maneuver me around. Forget it.
That sense of agency, which comes from authenticity, doesn't it? It comes from really knowing yourself. It also makes me think about, like, what's the similarity between being a medium and, deep empathy? Because when we've done a lot of trauma work, I have most of the T-shirts, I reckon, that we're able to empathize with people, because in many cases we've had some semblance of the experiences they've had. It's not going to be the same, but we do know a bit about what it's like to walk in their shoes if we've had a lot of it. What do you think that connection might be?
I honestly don't feel like you can be a great medium, let's say, without having walked a difficult path. I think that it's almost necessary. And I think that there's a saying like, the people who end up helping people, most of them, they're all mad. And it's because we've all been through these things and we are passionate about helping other people get through those times because we know how hard it was to walk that path. And I think if I hadn't have been through everything I've been through and had to do the things that I've done, I wouldn't be able to feel how I feel when I'm connecting. And I wouldn't be feeling authentic in the way that I'm giving people advice through spirit, obviously, because I'd feel like a hypocrite. Like I'm trying to give you advice and I'm trying to channel something that I don't even understand. Like that just doesn't feel right to me. So
I love what you said as well about perspective. You have a fight with your spouse or whatever, and then it's that that's going to be okay, or if it's not, it's not, like whatever, because there's something bigger that you're after here. And I don't mean after in a goal-oriented way. I mean like you feel aligned, like we have connect with self, connect with meaning or purpose, and then connect with others. And if you haven't got the first two right, it's very difficult to connect with others because this isn't aligned. So it sounds to me when you talk about it that this feels like a purpose for you.
definitely. And spirit often talk about this when they come through for people. They might be like, I know you've been so worried and burdened by the last conversation that we had. And I know that you wish we had spent more time together and la la la. But they describe it as that's just human stuff. Like, that's just human things. Like, when you actually look at things from a soul perspective and from a meaning and purpose perspective, a lot of that stuff kind of just doesn't matter. And when you get over there, they don't care about any of that stuff. They're like, we don't care that you didn't come over that day. Like, our connection's so much stronger than an instant or a moment in time. So I hope that people remember that or they take something from that because I promise you, your loved ones on the other side are never disappointed in you. They are never upset with anything that happened here, even if you didn't talk for years. They're not holding on to that. They're like, you know what? We needed that. That just had to happen in order for us to have this full circle moment. So no regrets.
So it's a beautiful, reassuring thing to say to people, regardless of what they believe, right? Like just the idea that whatever happens, it's just part of the human experience, that we're all having.
Definitely. And don't live your life for spirit. Do not do that. Don't be like, oh, I'm not going to do that because mum never liked that. It's like, I promise you, mum doesn't care now. Mum would be like, all right, you do you. Like, it's okay for you to experience this life the way that you see fit because that's your journey and they're your lessons and that has nothing to do with her. So never hold yourself back for anyone on the other side. I did it for years and I wish I didn't.
So interesting. In what way did you do it?
I feel like I held back on relationships or allowing people to fall away that I needed to fall away. I kept connections because I thought that's what my nana would want me to do. And I was like, you know what? I don't think my nana would want me to be sitting here every day sad and upset and living this toxic existence. I feel like she would want me to be in my power and feeling confident and surrounding myself with people that make me feel happy. And as soon as I started to connect with spirit in this way and I connected with her more like this as a medium, I found that validation. And I knew that she was just waiting for me to find the confidence to do what I had to do in order to unlock this part of my life.
Really curious about what happens because you clearly feel like you can select energetically what's good or toxic or bad. What happens when you get a client and their energy is not good?
Yeah, so this doesn't happen as often as it used to happen. I think when I first started, and other mediums will probably relate to this, you're like, come one, come all to all the clients, anyone, everybody, come and have a reading. And over time, you start to get a little bit more specific. It's kind of like terms and conditions, like you would with an employer, like going, you know what? I'm only going to sign up now for these kind of clients. This is what I'm hoping to achieve. I want readings that flow. I want people who want to have closure or want to feel things or are open to this experience and aren't trying to control the narrative kind of thing. And you find that the people who have that lower vibrational energy don't get attracted to my services because they don't resonate with me. And even if I do get a random off the cuff I just stop it in its tracks. And I've learnt to do that. Like, I feel like if we are forcing things that are just not working, you're doing yourself and them a disservice. And I'm not the type of person who's ever going to sit here talking crap and trying to pull things out of nothing. Like, if it's not blending, it's not blending. And I just cut it at the knees. I feel like you have to. But this is why also I've stopped, well, for two reasons I've stopped doing gift vouchers. One of them is because my books are closed right now because I'm just madly busy, which is I'm so blessed, so people can't get in. But the other reason is because I feel like if someone wants a reading, I want them to book it. I want someone to go, I'm open for that. I'm ready for that.
It's intentional, isn't it? And they've picked you.
Yes.
So that's already yeah.
Yeah, whereas I feel like if you gift for others, like surely if you've enjoyed the experience from me, you're like, oh, my friend would love you kind of thing. And most of the time it's fine. But sometimes it's like, oh, maybe that's not something they were ready for or they're open to, or maybe we don't blend. So I'm trying to cut out a bit of that noise. I'm like, let's just have people who genuinely want this right now and are ready to go the distance with me or do the dance with spirit to try and have the best possible session we can have. So I'm getting a bit more particular with this kind of stuff.
And it's clearly working for you.
It is.
Growing fan base.
It's just madness. I can't believe, like, in the last, 2 years, just how far this has come. Like, I'm not someone who stands there and ever talks about myself, and I'm not very ego-y. I hate all that kind of crap. But just to look at it, I try and reflect a little bit now and go, I'm so focused on what's next. Like, oh, what now? What now? Like, what can I do? Like, I've always been very driven, and I never take a minute to just go, whoa, like, that's madness.
Exponential bit has been fast, hasn't it?
It's been really quick, but I almost feel like that's been for a reason. They're kind of like, oh, let's catch you up. They're like, let's just get you to where you need to be, and then you can just plod along kind of thing. So it's been intense, but it's been fun. Like, so fun to meet so many people. And look, it's led me to your podcast, so I'm not complaining.
Look at that. See?
I love it.
It's kismet. That's such a thing in the world right now. You know, I think there's so much fear and divide, and so many people are disconnected from the world and whatever that means for them. Yeah. For some people, it's spirit, but a lot of people feel really uncomfortable with that idea. So it could be nature. We did a podcast recently and we were talking about connection to country with an Aboriginal educator, and that's
cool.
It's an ancient tradition and belief. And I definitely think that the people that I work with, whether it's teams or individuals, that one of the biggest things missing when we think about connection is that sense of being part of something bigger than us, and not just purpose, but the world. And to me, it makes so much sense. You're immersing yourself in what is our natural habitat. Like, we're part of the earth is part of us. So I just feel like there's such a need in the world for people to explore and reconnect with whatever is meaningful to them, and not necessarily have to say, I don't believe in that, so it's crap. But just, that idea of the term a broad church, it's like, well, different things for different people, different levels of openness, or whatever the case may be.
Definitely. Yeah. I think it's really important for people to believe in something.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be what I believe in, but I think it's really nice to walk around in this world and know that there's something else, and you're being looked after, and that things are going to work out for you. And even though it might not make sense now, it might make sense later. And I think the more present that we're able to be, and even just dedicating those little pockets of time for ourselves to be present and in our own energy. I think we're so used to being in everyone else's energy all the time. What do my kids need from me? What does my partner need from me? What am I doing today that I need to do for everybody else? And I think sometimes just taking a minute to get outside, just to breathe and to be in your own energy, you'll actually start to hear yourself again. I think we lose our voice all the time. You're so interested in what everyone else has to say and what they think about what you should do. Whereas if you actually just stood back and listened to yourself, you might get the answers. You'll actually get the answers pretty quickly. And you might be scared of what the answer is, but you know what the answer is. You've just got to be brave enough to take the steps and take the risks.
Ignoring that one. Okay, that one's okay.
I'll come back to that one later.
Not quite ready yet. So the showing up online thing. So I have a love-hate relationship with media in general. I think it's so much damage is done in the world, and we're creating, again, so much angst and divide and fear. And what an incredible vehicle for global connection at an individual level. Like, both things are true. But we're kind of getting these little echo chambers and the algorithms and blah, blah. I love the idea of media for good, and that we would contribute, whether it's like little nuggets with like the nudge theory idea with our socials, or whether we're doing a podcast or whatever, that we would contribute some positive noise to the noise, whatever we think that is.
Mm-hmm.
What has made you feel like you want to show up in a realm that is known for tearing people who are different, particularly if they happen to also be female, down, and just be so like ruthlessly authentic?
Yeah. You're giving me goosebumps as you're talking about that, because I'm so damn passionate about empowering other women. I cannot stand this, oh, I've got to keep all the clients and I'm not going to share your thing. And I'm like, all that petty crap. I just cannot even deal with it. I'm all about, there's enough clients for all of us. We're all very different. Especially in this space, like everyone is so different. We have different ways of communicating. We believe in different things. Like even just as women in general, when I was in the corporate world, God, we tear each other down, just like step on each other to like get the role or to get the opportunity. It is so toxic and I cannot even deal with it. So I've always been very inclusive and, sharing people's stuff. And I follow every business that I can find that follows me. I'm following all these women back and they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you're following me. I'm like, are you kidding me?
We were pretty excited when you followed us, I have to say. We were.
I love
we were
that.
Very excited about it.
Oh, I love that. But no, honestly, it's like I got so excited when I started out and I had people who would follow me back. And it's so simple and stupid and it's all human stuff. But honestly, it means the world. You don't understand the impact you can have just by liking someone's stuff. Like, it's huge. And you might think it's nothing, but even your little comment you put on there, that person goes, oh, they got what I just put down. Like that hit them.
I was trying to be seen, which is hard. I was trying to find my voice, which is really hard, and to share it even harder. And you're saying, I see you.
Yeah. It's next level. Like it's so simple. A connection is so simple. And I think that we overcomplicate it. And I think people's egos get in the way. And like even somebody that I saw the other day, like I have been like friends with her. She's another medium for ages and ages. And I saw that she went and unfollowed everybody on her account. Just back to zero following. And then she has all these people following her. And that stuff just gets me. There's something about it. I'm like, whoa. I'm like, that to me speaks like I am like this, God or this queen and everybody follow me. And it's like, what is going on here?
It's
I'm
very
like,
one
how?
way. Like there's no connections
Yes.
about mutuality. It's about two humans, or maybe like one in a different realm and one here, but it's mutual. It's not a one-way
Yes.
track.
I know. And when people go to that mindset, I just cannot understand it. I really can't. And I think because I've been like crushed by so many women in the corporate world and in my life along the way, I've just become so passionate about it. I just want to support any woman that I can. I think it's so important that we do that because it means more than you realize.
Yeah. And especially the ones that it's not easy for them to be seen or have a voice. Like there will be things about you and your background and me and mine, definitely privilege, knowing the right things in cases that give us a step up. So actually being able to use a platform, anything that we've got, to amplify people who just would never be able to do that for whatever reason. I think that's a way to use media for good for sure.
Definitely. And just being real. Like, I think there's so many people, especially in this space, it's all light and love and, like fairy tales and all this stuff. I'm like, I do not want to come on here on any platform and be talking like an alien. Like, you can't understand what I'm talking about. And I'm talking, I've heard some people, and I don't like to bag out anyone, but I've heard some people, and sometimes the way that they speak, I'm like, no one is going to understand what you're talking about. It's not relatable at all.
Yeah, the spiritual lingo or the whatever the
lingo all the
is.
Gibberish, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, no, I am just the girl next door who just so happens to be able to tell that your grandma's standing next to you.
It's just as simple as that.
It
reminds me of a famous movie. So interesting about the showing up authentically, because that's a contribution too. And I do get a little bit cynical about, I think sometimes people are doing stuff for likes on their, and I find that deeply manipulative as well. It's like I'm trying to get your eyeballs and your attention, and I'm doing it by putting a whole lot of emotion out there without really processing it or thinking about it or understanding the impact. But I saw when you shared about your family, there was just a level of vitriol about how dare you say anything about your family, that kind of vibe. So much judgment. So what do you do about that? How do you feel? Does it impact you at all when you see the negative comments?
Not anymore. I feel like it used to. I used to be like, oh my God, how mean is that person to write that? Who writes these things? Like, I remember sitting there with like my wife, Jade, and I'd be like, oh my God, look at this comment. And she's like, delete them all, delete all the bad ones. And then some of my reels went really viral. And I'm like, Jade, I can't sit here deleting all of this. So I'm like, I don't even want to read it anymore. I'm like, I'm just going to put out there what I feel might land with someone, or what I feel like somebody might need to see or to know. And I think some people might think, oh, you're putting it out there for attention or whatever. And people go, oh, don't give them your energy. Don't give them your energy. And I'm like, but it's not about that. It's about saying, hey, you're not alone here. Like, this has happened to me, and I can guarantee that it's happened to one of you. And I don't want you to ever feel like you're the only one that's been through this, and that you're alone, and that you don't have somebody that gets you. Like, it's all about connection and understanding and making people feel less alone in the traumas that they've experienced. And, I don't want people to think my life's been perfect. Like, I've been told for so many years, Jess, you from the outside, if no one had looked at any of my social media, someone just meets me in person, you look like you have it all together. I get that all the time. You look so put together. You look the part. You're articulate. You're intelligent. You're all the things. No one would ever know you came from that. And I'm like, yeah, and that's why I'm telling you, because I don't want people to think that this is just, who I am. Like, there's layers here. And I think we're so judged on how we come across, and people don't understand what's actually happened beneath the surface. And I think it's really important to share.
I completely agree. I mean, I think the best people I've met in my life, when I talk to them, at any level of depth, have mostly had the hardest time, because you can't go through really hard stuff and not feel compassion and empathy for other humans who have whatever happens to them. So I think the more we can talk about it, I think there's a real difference, but I don't know what the difference is, like, I'm pretty new to the socials thing because they kind of terrified me. It's like, this feels like the Wild West in some ways, much as I believe it could be for such good, but the whole, like, in a speaker world, it's like therapy on a stage. There are things that you should share and are useful to share, particularly your story, your experiences. It normalizes so many things that are taboo or shameful, but there has to be a little bit of processing maybe before we're sharing. But maybe that's an old-fashioned view that I've got. I just think about unprocessed trauma straight out at mass is very triggering for people without any kind of sense of, like, maybe it's really healthy. Maybe we're just seeing it all now in a way we've never been able to before.
Yeah, I honestly feel that everything that I'm putting out there, mostly everything I'm putting out there, is from quite a while ago.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm not actually just putting it out there for the viral energy. Like, let's just get it out there and become famous, like, stuff that. It's more, hey, this is hooking you in. So you read this because in the crux of everything, I try and break down what I learned from that, what I've done since then, how I'm trying to make a difference now in my life because of that. Like I want the lesson in it. It's not about just the dirt. It's about, hey, that happened, but then that led to that. So just know if you're going through that, you could land here too.
Yeah, or anywhere. You could land somewhere, wherever. Yeah, it's that famous saying that we cannot be what we cannot see, and that we should be sharing our stories for that reason.
Definitely. But I think it's hard when you see someone, let's just so go on their stories and you feel like they just air their dirty laundry every 5 minutes and they're on there crying and they're doing all the things. And yes, emotion is fine. That's so normal. But I actually had someone, it's just someone that I know who does that a lot. Like, just somebody that I know personally, cries a lot on the Instagram and all that kind of stuff. And like somebody actually said to me the other day, because our dog passed away a couple weeks ago, and like just break my heart, throw it on the floor, like it was awful. And someone wrote to me that I know, and I have a really dark sense of humor sometimes. They're like, I was really looking forward to your Instagram story of you just bawling your eyes out and crying and throwing things around. And we just laughed about it because I was like, God, I would just never do that. Like, I wanted to share the beautiful video about him and how much we love him. And I put up a couple photos of us just hugging him that night. And I thought, that's sharing enough. Like, you guys get it. Like, I'm freaking sad, right? But I don't feel like I needed to get on there crying and trying to process my emotions in front of everybody. Like, I feel like that might be really hard for somebody who may have just lost their dog who's in that energy, you know? So I try and not filter it, but like give enough that you get it, but not overwhelm people with things.
A little bit of boundaries for us too. Like, there are things that we need to process on our own or with the people closest to us. And sometimes I think, I mean, maybe it's very healing and helpful for people who don't have that, who haven't had an ability to really do it with themselves, or they don't have people close to them. Maybe this gives them a way to do that. I don't know. But yeah, I think for me, the boundaries are important. Like, what's sacred? What do I hold back? What are my lines? And I don't know, the lines aren't very black and white. I think they change. Are you finding that?
Definitely. Every situation's different. Like every circumstance is different. Sometimes the lines are blurred. Sometimes they're very clear. But I just go with it. I'm like, that feels right. I'll just put that up. Or that doesn't feel right. I'm not doing that today. Like,
Yeah.
I really try to be more in tune with my energy now too.
Yeah.
And I think we just downplay that. Like, be connected to yourself. Do what you feel is comfortable for you or what you feel like you want to do, not what you feel like you should have to do. That's the trap with social media. We're like, oh, I should probably share that. Like, I have to post. I should post that. I have to do this. I have to do that. And when you have that desperation energy behind anything that you decide to post, it never lands.
Absolutely.
Ever. You're wasting your time.
What's the big dream? Do you have one? Like, is there a purpose that you're starting to kind of feel into that you think, I don't know, I'm going to connect with this many people, or I'm going to be open to what's the thing?
Yeah, it's interesting. I used to have lots of plans. Now I have none. And I think it's because I've learned that what I have in store for me is so much less than what the universe do.
Yeah.
So I am not about like controlling the narrative right now. I'm just going with it. And I kind of like it. I've never, ever been able to go with the flow. I'm a control freak. I want to know everything. I do not surrender. And this is the one thing that I'm like, well, the more I've surrendered, the more you've delivered. So I'm kind of just going to keep doing me. And just if opportunities present themselves, I've become quite a yes person. If things come up, I'm like, all right, then. All right, let's give that a crack. Unless it feels totally wrong, I think that it's important to throw yourself out of your comfort zone. And I'm just sort of waiting to see what lands next.
Just open to whatever comes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the basis of most ancient traditions. And even really modern psychology is about getting to that point of integration. So really authentic, really aligned, internally validated, and being open to just being present, genuinely in your body, connected with yourself, seeing what's around you. And then whatever opportunities are there, not the kind of constant grinding towards goals. Like we're such a time in the world where we are optimizing everything. Our morning ritual, and I mean, I'm just as much a victim of these things as everyone else because I have a lot of energy and I try everything. So I want to try that and I want to try that and that sounds good and I should do that. But it's more like a thirst or a curiosity than I should most of the time, although I'm sure I do some shoulds. So yeah, I think this idea that we can get to a place if we do really hard work on ourselves where we feel that really the goal is to be totally embodied and present. And then the rest will come.
Yeah, they do. They show up. The more you hustle, the less that happens. That's the thing. When I was in corporate, the more you hustled, the more things happen. But in this realm and what I'm learning, like less is more. And it's not that you're just sitting on your butt doing nothing and just hoping to manifest life. Like you do have to do things and you'll feel called to take certain steps and do things. But I just feel like the more we strangle things, the more that they just wither away.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I loved that you said surrender because that's very counterintuitive, the way that we live our lives. Now it's the opposite of that, you know? So what advice would you give to whoever's listening? So they might be completely open to this, already manifesting and dialing into their intuition, or they might be the complete antithesis, feeling like this doesn't connect with them at all. What advice would you just give to any person about, you know, you feel like you're living your most authentic, aligned, integrated life right now, that you've never felt more clear, you were saying. So what would you say just at that level to anyone listening?
Mm-hmm. I think the best thing that I ever did with my life, and I only did it 2 years ago, guys, I'm still fresh at all this, is I took a chance on myself. And I think that we sit there so often and we go, God, I'd love to have my own business. God, I'd love to move overseas. Oh, I can't wait for the day that I decide that I'm going to do that. It's like, well, then why don't you just do it? Like, what is stopping you? Take a moment, get a big piece of paper out and make it realistic. And that's the thing that I had to do. I sat there and I went, all right, then, I've got this corporate job that pays me all this money, but I'm miserable. How can I make that money? And, you know, this is human life, guys. We have to make money. Like, that's normal. I think that sometimes we don't like to say that kind of stuff. And I'm not doing this for money, but it's reality, right? So you sit there and go, how much do I need to earn? How much do I need to save? What opportunities do I need to come my way? Who do I need to connect with? Like, make it real for you and just do it. Because I promise you, you won't regret it. You've already got the seed in your head. They've already planted it in you. It's just you're taking a while to have the confidence and the bravery to actually believe that you can. And I think when you finally believe in yourself and you take that risk and you quit that job or you get rid of that person in your life, I promise you, you will never feel more empowered in that moment. And then all your abundance will start to flow. It's like that saying, you close doors, better ones open.
Yeah. But you've got to get past the fear, don't you, to do that? I find we do executive coaching as part of the business. And so that's one-on-one coaching with people. So it's quite deep. You know, we spend 6 months together really understanding this person deeply, what they want, who they are, the difference they want to make in the world. And at the very start, we send them some questions, reflection questions. And the first sort of question is something along the lines of, I want you to take the mental handcuffs off and dream. So don't just write down whatever comes to mind. Like go wander and wonder. Go be in the world. Go to an art gallery. Have a coffee. Don't be on your phone for a while. Really connect in and dream about if you could do anything in any way, have any life you wanted to. Let's at least start there. And it just really floored me how many people would start their first coaching session and say, I just couldn't answer that first question. So I can tell you my goals for the next 6 months. I can tell you I want a better job or I want to not be so crap at this or whatever the thing is.
Mm.
But the idea that they would take the mental handcuffs off, it's such a vulnerable thing to actually let yourself believe that you could just, not saying you have to do it, you could just dream. And mostly I get the answer, I don't know. I don't know what ideal would be. I don't know who I would ideally be. I don't know. I'm so disconnected from myself is the small writing underneath. And I'm so lined into other people's expectations of me and what the world is telling me success looks like that I haven't really stopped to figure that out.
Yeah. It's so normal. It really is. And I think sometimes it takes that crash and burn moment for you to actually start to think about how you could change your life. And maybe you're waiting for that moment. Maybe you're like, I'm about to tip over the edge. We'll just see what happens when I land. Like, I feel like sometimes we just need to realize within ourselves that, hey, I'm not good.
Yeah.
And something has to change. Something has to shift here. And I'm going to be brave enough to understand what that is. And even just the awareness is key, because then you go, oh, all right, now I know what's bothering me. If you actually look at your life and you pinpoint all the things that are making you anxious, or you pinpoint all the things that are making you feel, outside of yourself, I guess, it's not as complicated as what your mind is creating it to be.
And catastrophizing as well.
Definitely. I think when you break it down and you compartmentalize it all and you deal with things like in like one side, one thing at a time, I guess I could say, you'll actually find that things aren't as bad as what they probably seem, or there's something that you can do there that's quite easy to remove yourself from a situation or to make a change. So I think next year we all need to be more brave.
Yeah. And I think the warning sign to even figure out what does that look like? Am I already brave? Am I not already brave? Sometimes it's depression, so sometimes it can be quite dark feelings. But I actually think the biggest issue that we have with most people is they're numb. They've just dialed down all their emotions because you can't selectively numb emotions. So they can't say, I don't want to be angry or scared, but I'll still take joy. You dull one, you dull them all. And I think so many people are just living in a very numb state.
Think that at some point in time, you have to face your demons. And it can be at your pace, doesn't have to be at a whirlwind pace like some of us have done. But I think easy does it. Just be aware of the fact that something needs to shift. And maybe that's just all you take out of this. Where am I not happy in my life? What needs to change? Don't know how it needs to change or what I'm going to do about it, but now I know what that is, and I'm not going to be numb to that anymore. I'm going to allow myself to feel why that feels that way. Baby steps.
Baby steps. I've got one final question. When you're doing a reading, and people do we still call them people, spirits come through to you?
Souls, spirits.
And they're talking, or you're translating what you're hearing and interpreting for that person.
Yeah.
Do you learn from that as well? Is sometimes the message a bit for you, or you think I needed to hear that, or you just learn from because this is a lot of humans that you're talking to all the time, and the humans teach me stuff all the time just by being themselves. Do you find that you learn a lot?
Definitely. I feel like I'm so much smarter having done this. But even people's stories, like they're like, oh, I'm learning about like different cultures and their traditions and what they do. And, oh, we didn't believe in that. This is what we always have to do because it has to be like this. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's so fascinating. And like, just there's so much wisdom. From these people. And yes, some days, like even like, let's just say I'm not having the best day, or I've just had a shonky, experience or whatever. Sometimes the first thing that happens when I'm starting to connect with my client's loved one is they're comforting me.
Oh, really?
It's beautiful. Like sometimes they're like, oh, we know you've had a hard day. Don't worry. This will be a good one. And they're like, don't worry. It's fine. And I'm like, oh, thank God for this person's nan. Like she's just making me feel so great. But then that's the first thing I say. Gosh, this woman's loving and caring and just wants to make sure everyone feels okay. And then that person's like, oh my God, yes, that's exactly how she used to be. So I learn a lot, and they comfort me along the way when I'm having a bit of a rough time too. So everyone's loved ones out there, they're doing me a service too when I'm connecting with them. So it's lovely.
Yeah. It's a lovely idea to think that it's energetically very positive, because that's really a message that you're giving, isn't it? I'm not seeing a lot of bad stuff here,
No, and I'm not the type of medium that likes to lean on the fear-based anxiety energy. And that doesn't mean we don't go deep and we don't give you the messages you need to hear in moments and we reference things that have happened in the past. Like, I'm not going to say everything's going to be fairies in your reading, but when I connect with spirit, they always make us laugh. There's always funny moments. Majority of it is us laughing and being light. And, there's, like I said, you get to the detail, but I think that it's really important that this is a positive experience for people and that they walk away going, you know what, I got so much out of that. Or, you know what, even if it's just one line that I flew out of my mouth that came from spirit that's landed for you that day, worth it.
Yeah, absolutely worth it. Well, it's been a total pleasure speaking with you. I could do this all day. You could just stay online. We'll keep talking. But I love the energy that you're putting out into the world, the level of positivity, your willingness to, show up completely as yourself. And I think by doing that, give other people permission to do the same. So thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for being here today. It's been a total pleasure.
Oh, thank you so much. That's so sweet. And I've loved being here. So thank you.